Have you ever been told that drinking 8 glasses of water a day is the ultimate secret to aging gracefully? They say hydration is the key to longevity, healthy skin, and a strong heart. But what if I told you that this very advice, if applied at the wrong time of day, is exactly what is destroying your sleep, exhausting your kidneys, and forcing you out of bed at 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. every single night? If you are waking up multiple times a night to use the bathroom, staring at the ceiling, and dreading the brain fog that awaits you the next morning, you are not alone. And more importantly, you are not broken. This frustrating medical is called Nocturia, and it is silently stealing the independence, energy, and joy of millions of adults over the age of 50. Before we uncover the exact hydration timing rules that can help you sleep through the night, I want to welcome you to our community. If you are tired of generic medical advice and want science-backed, natural habits to reclaim your golden years, please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and leave a quick comment below telling us. How many times do you wake up every night? Sharing your story helps us all realize we are in this together, and a simple like or share might just help someone else find the restful sleep they have been praying for. Now, let us talk about the real reason your bladder seems to have a mind of its own. For decades, the standard advice for nighttime urination has been simple: just stop drinking water after dinner. But you have probably tried that, haven't you? You stopped drinking water at 6 p.m., your mouth felt like sandpaper by bedtime, and yet you still woke up at 3 a.m. needing the bathroom. Why does this happen? The answer lies in a hidden physiological mechanism that most people completely overlook. It is not just about what you drink. It is about how your body stores liquids throughout the day. Let me introduce you to Arthur, a 68-year-old retired architect from Michigan. Arthur was a healthy man, but his nights were an absolute nightmare. He was waking up 3 to 4 times a night to pee. He felt exhausted, his memory was slipping, and he secretly feared his prostate was failing. He restricted his evening water intake so strictly that he felt miserable and dehydrated, but the nighttime trips did not stop. Arthur felt like his body had betrayed him. He feared he was losing his independence, worrying that his constant fatigue would soon make him a burden to his family. But Arthur's prostate was not the main culprit. When experts at leading institutions like the Cleveland Clinic analyzed cases similar to Arthur's, they found a fascinating pattern. The issue was not the water he drank at 8 p.m. The issue was the water his body had been holding onto him since 2 p.m. You see, as we age, our circulation naturally slows down. During the day, while you are sitting in your favorite chair or walking around the house, gravity pulls fluids down into your legs and ankles. You might not even notice the slight swelling known as mild peripheral edema. Your legs act like a hidden sponge, storing all that excess fluid while you go about your day. When Arthur finally laid down in bed at 10 p.m., he changed his body's relationship with gravity. Suddenly, his legs were level with his heart. All that trapped fluid in his lower body rushed back into his bloodstream. His kidneys, which had been resting, were suddenly flooded with a massive amount of liquid. They had to filter it and send it straight to his bladder. So even though Arthur had not swallowed a single drop of water for 4 hours, his bladder was filling up rapidly while he slept. His body was essentially making him drink a hidden liter of water right as he closed his eyes. Understanding this one biological truth changes everything. It means that managing nighttime urination is not about torturing yourself with extreme thirst at night. It is about managing gravity and fluid distribution long before the sun goes down. Now that you understand the hidden role of gravity, you might be thinking, okay, I will just elevate my legs in the evening and stop drinking water at 6 p.m. I used to believe this was enough. Years ago, I would advise older adults to simply cut off their water supply after dinner. And you know what? I was completely wrong. It failed miserably for many of them. They were still waking up, and worse, they felt terribly dehydrated, with dry mouths and a growing frustration. It took me deeply analyzing urological research to realize we were missing a massive piece of the puzzle. The problem wasn't just when they were drinking. It was a silent trigger hiding right on their dinner plates. Let me introduce you to Margaret, a 65-year-old retired florist from Yorkshire, England. Margaret was desperate. She followed the hydration cutoff rule perfectly. She even elevated her legs while watching evening television. Yet at 1 a.m. and 3:30 a.m., her bladder demanded attention, shattering her rest. When we finally took a closer look at her evening routine, the hidden enemy wasn't her bedtime chamomile tea. It was her favorite comfort food, a simple, store-bought bowl of vegetable soup at 7 p.m. Why does this matter to you? Because according to extensive data from institutions like the Mayo Clinic and the American Heart Association, the aging kidney becomes incredibly sensitive to sodium. When you consume high-sodium foods in the evening, like canned soups, processed meats, certain salad dressings, or even that innocent-looking slice of whole wheat bread, your bloodstream becomes saturated with salt. Here is the fascinating biology behind it, and it completely shifts how we need to look at our bodies. Your body is biologically hardwired to maintain a perfect, delicate balance of salt and water. When your kidneys detect excess sodium from your dinner, they panic. They realize they need to flush that salt out of your system to protect your heart and stabilize your blood pressure. But here is the catch. To flush out salt, your kidneys desperately need liquid. So they act like a vacuum, pulling water from your cells and your tissues, sending it straight to your bladder along with the sodium. Margaret wasn't waking up because she drank too much water. She was waking up because her kidneys were working the night shift to clear out the hidden sodium from her soup. This is what I call the sodium sunset effect. If you want to support your bladder and finally experience the blessing of uninterrupted sleep, you must understand that salt is a powerful water magnet. You can stop drinking water at 5 p.m., but if you eat a salty meal at 7 p.m., your body will generate urine all night long, fighting to restore balance. So, what is the practical zero-cost habit you can start tonight? It is not about eliminating salt completely. That is unrealistic and removes the joy of eating. Instead, we need to shift your sodium intake to the active hours of your day. Have your heavier, saltier meals for lunch when your body is upright and your kidneys are actively processing. When dinner time rolls around, focus on potassium-rich fresh foods that actually help relax your system and manage fluid balance naturally. Think of a baked potato, a piece of fresh salmon, or a serving of steamed asparagus. By simply shifting when you consume your sodium, you allow your kidneys to process and filter it out before your head ever hits the pillow. When Margaret tried this single, counterintuitive shift, everything changed. Within 4 days, she went from waking up 3 times a night to sleeping a solid 7 hours. She told me she felt like she had gotten her life back. She finally had the morning energy to play with her grandchildren without feeling like a zombie. But managing your evening sodium and outsmarting gravity are only the first 2 steps in reclaiming your independence. There is a third biological trigger, and it involves a specific beverage you likely consume every single morning. You probably think it has completely left your system by nightfall. Believe me, it hasn't. In fact, it might be quietly irritating your bladder lining exactly when you are trying to sleep. We left off talking about that one morning beverage that could be secretly sabotaging your nights. Yes, I am talking about your beloved morning cup of coffee, or even your daily black tea. Now, before you worry that I am going to demand you give up your favorite morning ritual, please hear me out. I am absolutely not going to do that. What I am going to share is a fascinating biological truth about how the aging bladder reacts to what we consume long after the cup is empty. Let us look at the story of Eleanor, a 72-year-old retired librarian from Seattle. Eleanor was doing everything right by the book. She elevated her legs in the afternoon, she watched her evening sodium, and she strictly stopped drinking coffee by 11 a.m. She logically assumed that by midnight, the caffeine was completely gone from her system. Yet, she was still waking up at 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., rushing to the bathroom only to find that she barely produced any urine. It was maddening. She felt like her body was playing a cruel trick on her, leaving her exhausted and anxious every single day. When we look at advanced urological research from institutions like Johns Hopkins Medicine, we uncover a hidden reality about the aging bladder. As we cross our 50s and 60s, the protective mucosal lining of our bladder naturally becomes thinner and far more sensitive. Coffee and black tea are not just mild diuretics, they are highly acidic. Here is the secret that most people never realize. Even though the stimulating effects of caffeine wear off after a few hours, the highly concentrated acidic byproducts remain in your system. When you restrict your water intake in the evening to avoid going to the bathroom, your urine becomes incredibly dark and concentrated. Throughout the night, those concentrated acidic compounds from your morning coffee just sit there, pooling against the sensitive lining of your bladder. This creates microscopic irritation. Your bladder muscles begin to twitch and spasm. Your brain receives a frantic emergency signal saying, "We need to empty the bladder immediately," even if there is only a tiny amount of liquid inside. Eleanor wasn't waking up because her bladder was full. She was waking up because her bladder was crying out in irritation from the concentrated acidity. Once I understood this human biology, it completely changed how I looked at my own routine and how I advise others. We do not need to fight our bodies, we just need to understand them better. The solution to this is what researchers call the dilution protocol, and it is completely free. If you want to enjoy your morning coffee without paying the price at 3 a.m., you must proactively flush that acidity out of your system early in the day. For every single cup of coffee or tea you drink in the morning, you must drink 2 large glasses of pure room temperature water immediately afterward. We call this front-loading your hydration. By flooding your system with pure water before 2 p.m., you actively wash away those acidic compounds. By the time evening arrives, your kidneys have already filtered out the irritants, ensuring that whatever small amount of urine rests in your bladder overnight is diluted, clear, and non-irritating. When Eleanor applied this simple morning dilution trick, the results were almost immediate. The urgent, frantic waking completely stopped. Her bladder finally relaxed. She told me with tears in her eyes that she slept for 6 straight hours for the first time in nearly a decade. She didn't have to buy expensive supplements or undergo risky procedures. She just gave her body exactly what it needed to heal itself naturally. When you combine these 3 powerful science-backed habits, you create a shield against nocturia. First, you manage gravity by elevating your legs in the late afternoon, allowing the hidden fluid to process before bedtime. Second, you respect the sodium sunset effect by moving your salty meals to lunchtime, preventing your kidneys from pulling water all night. And third, you practice morning front-loading to dilute bladder irritants. But there is one final piece to this puzzle. It is a simple physical action you do right in your bathroom right before you step into bed. It takes exactly 2 minutes, but skipping this step leaves up to 30% of fluid trapped in your bladder, guaranteeing you will wake up. We left off with the final 2-minute bathroom habit that can completely change your nights. You see, you can manage your evening fluids, you can shift your sodium intake, and you can dilute your morning coffee, but if you do not empty your bladder correctly right before bed, all that hard work is compromised. Let me tell you about William, a 74-year-old retired history teacher from Ohio. William had successfully applied the first 3 rules. His evening swelling was gone and he felt much better during the day. However, he was still waking up at least once or twice a night, usually around 4 a.m., feeling a sudden, sharp urge to go. When we looked into his nighttime routine, we discovered a mechanical issue that happens to almost everyone as they cross their 60s. Here is the biological truth that is rarely explained to us. As we age, the main muscle of the bladder, known as the detrusor muscle, slowly loses its youthful elasticity. It becomes a bit sluggish. When you go to the bathroom right before bed, you might feel like you have completely emptied your bladder. You wash your hands, turn off the light, and get into bed. But because that muscle did not contract fully, up to 30% of your urine is actually still sitting at the bottom of your bladder. It is called residual volume. As soon as you lie down and try to sleep, that trapped pool of urine shifts, pressing against the sensitive nerves at the top of the bladder. A few hours later, your brain gets an emergency signal and you are forced out of bed again. William was a victim of this residual volume. So, how do we fix a muscle that has lost its elasticity? We use a brilliant, zero-cost clinical technique called double voiding. Here is exactly how you do it. About 15 minutes before you plan to go to sleep, go to the bathroom and urinate normally. For the men watching this, I highly recommend sitting down for this specific nighttime routine. Sitting relaxes the pelvic floor muscles completely, allowing the bladder to open up without resistance. Once you feel you are finished, do not just rush off to bed. Stand up, walk to the sink, and take exactly 2 minutes to brush your teeth, wash your face, or apply your evening lotion. Give your bladder those 2 minutes to reset. Then, walk back to the toilet, sit down, lean slightly forward, and try to urinate one more time. You will be absolutely astounded by how much additional fluid comes out. That second release is the hidden 30% that would have woken you up at 4 a.m. When William started practicing double voiding, it was the final key to his freedom. By ensuring his bladder was genuinely empty, the nerve signals stayed quiet all night. He wrote to me saying that for the first time in years, he slept completely through the night and woke up to the sound of birds, not his own frustrating bladder. I want to pause here and share something deeply personal from my years of researching and working in this field. I have seen thousands of people silently suffer from nocturia. I have seen the exhaustion in their eyes, the fear of falling in the dark hallway, and the quiet despair of thinking that this is just what getting old looks like. It breaks my heart because it simply does not have to be this way. You do not have to accept interrupted sleep as your permanent reality. You have worked incredibly hard your entire life. You have raised families, built careers, and contributed to the world. You deserve the grace of a peaceful, restorative night's sleep. Let us quickly recap the 4 pillars of the nocturnal sleep protocol so you can start tonight. Number 1. Manage gravity. Elevate your legs for 30 minutes in the late afternoon to process stored fluids. Number 2. The sodium sunset. Move your salty, heavy meals to lunchtime and eat potassium-rich, light dinners to stop the kidneys from pulling water at night. Number 3. The dilution protocol. For every cup of morning coffee or tea, drink 2 glasses of pure water immediately after to flush out acidic irritants. And number 4. Double voiding. Take 2 extra minutes in the bathroom to fully empty your bladder before your head hits the pillow. These are not medical treatments. They are fundamental shifts in how you understand and support your own biology. Your body is an incredible self-healing system. When you remove the hidden obstacles, it knows exactly what to do. If this video has brought you clarity today, or if you learned something that gives you hope, please share it with a friend, a spouse, or a family member who might be struggling in silence. Your support helps us continue to decode the science of aging gracefully. Thank you so much for your time, your trust, and for taking control of your health. Sleep well tonight, and I will see you in the next video.